friends. Today we're going to continue learning about the greatest story of all time. Yesterday we learned about Adam and Eve. We learned that they disobeyed God and had to leave the Garden of Eden. Over time, Adam and Eve had children, and their children had children, and people filled the earth. But you see, the earth wasn't like the garden. Life was hard on the earth. People died. There was sadness and there were tears. And the people who filled the earth, they weren't very kind and loving to each other. In fact, they were pretty mean, and they didn't care at all about God. But God was still right there, watching and waiting. You see, God was getting ready to make the wrong things right and the dark things light, and it all started with a man named Noah. I told you that the people didn't care about God, but there was an exception. Noah cared. When God spoke, Noah listened. And one day God said to Noah, "Noah, it makes me sad to see my people being so mean to each other. There is so much hate and anger. I'm going to send a storm to wash away all the hate and start over. It makes me really sad. And this isn't going to be easy, but if you listen to what I say, I will be with you, and you and your family will be okay." So God told Noah the plan. Noah was going to build a really, really, really big boat called an ark. The only teensy problem was that Noah didn't know anything about building boats, but God gave him instructions to tell him exactly what to do. Think of it like a giant Lego kit. It takes time, but if you follow the instructions, even if you've never built a Lego set before, you can make something really cool. So Noah trusted God and followed his instructions. Noah and his family all got on the boat, but they weren't the only ones on the boat. God had animals on the boat too. What is your favorite animal? Tell me, I want to hear. Maybe it's a giraffe, a lion, a dog, a horse, or maybe it's even a polar bear. Well, guess what? All of those animals were on the boat with Noah and his family. Okay, one, can you imagine being on a boat with an elephant and a giraffe and a zebra and a panda? That sounds amazing to me. After Noah and his family and all the animals got on the boat, they waited and they waited. And after 7 days of waiting, the sky got dark and the floods came. Rain came pouring down, and very quickly there was water everywhere. The world was completely flooded. Noah and his family and the animals were on the ark. They were probably scared and lonely, and they just had to wait for the rain to stop. So they waited, and they waited, and they waited. Even though they probably felt lonely, Noah and his family were never alone. God was with them every second of every day. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. And then one day, the rains just stopped. The sun came out and slowly the water levels dropped until the boat stopped on a piece of land. And the door to the boat was opened, and Noah and his family and the animals walked off the boat onto dry land. God was faithful to Noah, even when it was hard. Even when it rained for days and days and they had to wait and wait, God was with them. God had done what he had promised. It was a fresh start. Noah thanked God for saving him and his family, and God promised to never flood the earth again. He placed a rainbow in the sky as a symbol of that promise. This would be a new beginning, but it wouldn't be enough. Why? Because Noah wasn't perfect. His family wasn't perfect. Sin still existed in the world. God couldn't remain. Sin drove him away. So Noah and his family began to hope and to pray, "God, will you come back to stay?" You see, the story of Noah and the flood is an important part of the greatest story, the story of Jesus coming to earth. But it isn't the end. Join me tomorrow as we continue walking through the greatest story of all time.